Hey everyone, Aussie Viking to another video on a reaction of the Netflix Witcher TV show. So, after so long, basically 15, 16 years, because the last Witcher TV show was released in 2001 in Poland only, we're getting a Witcher TV show by Netflix. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, we want HBO to do it, but honestly, they had Game of Thrones. They weren't going to just create another big dark fantasy universe and, you know, split the budget up. You know, they got Game of Thrones. They've got like 4 or 5 Game of Thrones spin-offs. That's fine. Netflix, however, is probably the next best bet, which is fantastic they were going to do it. Now, originally they said, oh, we're going to make a movie in 2017. Now, I always thought, okay, how come we haven't heard anything yet? Because 2017 happened, we didn't hear shit, nor even a trailer. So I was like, okay, what's going on? And I remember when they first said that they're going to do a movie, they said that it was kind of like we'll do the movie. If it does well, we'll then try to get a TV show out of it. So they basically cut the movie out and said, let's just do a TV show, which is great. And everybody that was going to work on the movie apparently is working on the TV show. Fantastic. Absolutely excited, because as you can tell, I'm quite a big Witcher fan. I mean, I have actually watched the original Witcher Polish TV show, and it's not that bad. A lot of people say it's bad, but it's the most okay TV show you could probably get. It's about a 6 if you were to give it a score, really, or a 1.5 thumbs up sort of thing. It's not a bad show. The only downside is it was made in 2000, 2001, well, 2000 I think, and the special effects aren't that good. The music's great. The visuals are going to be iffy because, again, back then, and CGI is terrible, and it's in Polish, so you can't understand the words. Or you can get them in subtitles, but because I couldn't find it, so I had to download it, and the subtitles are kind of like too fast. So sometimes they'll say a word and it's like, oh, on the screen for like 1 second, and they're still talking about it, and then it just goes away. And the fact that some words are spelled incorrectly, but other than that, it's not that bad. It does, when it follows the book, that TV show is actually really good. But yeah, like if you're a Witcher fan, or if you're someone that's getting into The Witcher, and you're fine with checking out a Polish TV show from 2001, go for it. Do not watch the film. The film is literally a cut down version, obviously, of the TV show. The TV show was 10 hours all up, about 10 1-hour episodes. The film's 3 hours. They cut 7 hours of story content out of it. So yeah, don't watch the movie. It makes a lot more sense if you watch the TV show, and it's not too bad. But Netflix, how awesome is that? Now I'm interested to see what they're gonna do, because there's a lot of books. Like, I mean, there's these plus, like, and that's not all of them. I think there's 1 or 2 more books I haven't got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's 7 or 8 books all in total. Yeah, 8, because one of them is sort of like a short story, like a big book like this, but it's contained in a short story. So I'm really excited to see where they go. So the idea is they'll probably do. So there's 2 storybooks. There's 2 books that are all short stories, right? So they have the Tower of Swallow. That's like 5 short stories, I think. Yeah, I should say at the front. Because there's a whole lot of short stories. And downside is, I don't know if it says how many short. No, I can't see how it says. But so there's short stories in this one, the Tower of Swallow, and then there's a whole lot of short stories in The Last Wish. So what's interesting is, if you were to follow these books, you could have a whole season of just one. You could make a whole season out of just that book, really, or at least half a season plus this. So these 2 here, you've got at least a season or 2 already of content, let alone the books, which is possibly a season. Well, actually, yeah, I think each book would be a season, so you could get like 8 to 10 seasons out of the whole thing, which is a good thing, because all the books are quality, they're really well done, and it's fantastic. And I'm sure that they will introduce by using the short story from The Last Wish and the Tower of the Swallow, because they're fantastic. They are absolutely like, these stories, and those 2 have some fantastic stories, and they're a good introduction, because they are an introduction to Geralt, Triss, Yennefer, Ciri, Dandelion, and all that, and they're really well done. Very well done. Like, there is some good shit in here, and I'm really hoping they follow them. I don't know if they'll do all of them. I kind of want them to, because there's the Golden Dragon, there's basically the Dandelion's sister. Read that, you'll cry by the end of it. It's fantastic. It's very emotional. And there's a whole lot of other good ones which I don't want to spoil. So there's that, let alone the other books. Now, I'm also wondering what the budget's going to be, because the Witcherverse is more like Game of Thrones. Obviously, their budget got bigger and they can show more fantasy side of things. But Witcher is more fantasy than it is, like, it's a mix. But The Witcher has like monsters and disgusting, grotesque creatures and magic and stuff, more so than Game of Thrones does. Like, it's like an everyday occurrence, let alone like every now and then. So I'm excited. It sucks that we're gonna probably have to wait till next year, but being Netflix, they're probably gonna release it like that. Oh, here you go. Trailer comes out in 1-2 months, and then like the whole series comes out in one day. So I'm excited, but I do wonder about, obviously, like I said, the budget. Of course, if it gets really good and it gets successful, kind of a word. I'm really bad at pronouncing some words. So if it gets really good, everyone's like, oh, we want another season. That season will just get a bigger budget, but I am wondering how much it's going to be. Although there are some stories in here that don't really need a budget or a big budget. The dragon one will. That dragon one's going to need a budget, but other than that, yeah, there ain't some bad ones. Also wondering how they're going to do the themes, because there are some strong themes in this. Like, if you like Game of Thrones and how violent and disgusting that is in some of the themes, like, that shit's in here. That shit's in The Witcher and can be just as bad, if not worse. I know what you're thinking. Can you get worse than some things in Game of Thrones? Oh, The Witcher's got you covered. But being Netflix, I think they'll be fine, because from what I understand, Netflix being its own thing, and like, we can do drugs, sex, nudity, violence, we're all for that. Like, they're like HBO, they can just do it, from what I understand. So that's a good thing too. And having the original creator, Andrzej Sapkowski, is great. They're not going to follow the games, but then again, the games are kind of a what if, 5-10 years later sort of thing, so that's fine. Then again, if this does really well, they do the whole book series, they could follow the games next, and that would be freaking awesome, but we'll see. What else? By the way, Geralt. I cannot wait. I do hope who the Geralt's going to be, actually, who they're going to cast as Geralt. Now, I'm not going to be like, oh, these are my castings that I want. No, I'm not going to do that. But one thing I'm really interested in is how they're going to do Aerodin. I think it's Aerodin. So Aerodin, like, here's the thing. When this comes out, people are going to compare it to Game of Thrones. They're going to be like, oh, it's a Game of Thrones ripoff. Actually, it's not. For those that don't know, it came out a full decade before the first Game of Thrones book. By the time the first Game of Thrones book came out in 1996, I think Andrzej Sapkowski actually finished his series. It just wasn't translated into English in 2007, but it did come out beforehand. So there's that, but there is a lot of themes that actually do coincide. There's the White Wolf. You know, people call Jon Snow the White Wolf, people call Geralt of Rivia the White Wolf. And if you go back far enough, Elric of Merryload, or whatever his name is, from like the 1960s, but we don't get into that. That's just a big circle joke of who made it first and whatever. So there's also that. There's also things like the White Frost. You know, in Game of Thrones, you've got Winter is Coming. In the Witcherverse, it's the White Frost that's coming. You've got the Wild Hunt, which is skeletal creatures, which, you know, you've got the undead. Although, to be truthful, Wild Hunt can kick the shit out of the White Walkers. Oh, Aerodin can do some crazy ass shit. Like, he'll fuck you up. Yeah, he will fuck you up. So, yeah, like, there is a lot, and I'm really excited to see how they go. And there are some key scenes I want. So there's a scene, it's kind of spoiler, but there's a scene where, and this is great, and I really hope they do it. There's a scene where they have kings and queens around a circle table, right, talking about certain things about what's happening with the wars and stuff, you know, stuff like that with Nilfgaard. And just out of nowhere, one of the kings like, so what's it like fucking your sister, Foltest? And then this chick's like, and this queen's like, yeah, what's it like? Like, how's that? And he's just like, and they basically just quip about, look, you wouldn't be really good kings and queens if we didn't have good spies to know what's going on. And I was like, that was fucking amazing. Like, that one scene made me go, oh yeah, oh, that scene's just freaking hilarious. And if you think that scene sounds great, get the book, which is, well, I'll say get all the books. But if you want to know the specific part that is in, it is in Blood of Elves, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Blood of Elves. So, get Blood of Elves and read it, you'll love it. But I do suggest, if you do read the books, get The Tower of the Swallow, because that's the first short story book, and The Last Witch. These two. To start off with your witchering, get these two novels, because they will bring you in and you'll get sucked in if you like that sort of stuff. And there's another scene, so it also goes with how far they're going to go. So there's a girl in it called Ciri. She has a fucked up life. She goes through hell. Like, her first time having sex is basically raped by a female elf. So what happens is, this is sort of a spoiler again, so if you wanna like switch through it or just give up, you know, I've kind of said most of my things, but this is kind of the thing about how far they'll go. So In it, Siri gets with the pack called the Rats. I'm going to say how, but the pack called the Rats. And one day after they do like this sort of mission thing, you know, survival and all that, this gruff guy from the Rats comes in and tries to hit on Siri and saying, you deserve a reward. So he tries to have sex with her. A female elf whacks him in the head and just tells him to F off, you know. And then she starts on her and just kind of like touches her, and then like in Siri's mind, she's basically like, I shouldn't be doing this. This is wrong, but it feels so good. So then she has sex with her. And like even the next morning she starts crying and like it didn't feel right and stuff like that. But then she just keeps doing it because she's kind of like that mentality of what's going on. Because she's like 12, 13 when this happens at the time too. And by then she's seen people get killed, people from her family get killed and stuff like decapitations and all that. Like she has a fucked up life, and this stuff happens. And it really makes me wonder how strong they're going to do this sort of stuff. And it's rather interesting because all the guys she finds in the books, at least from what I remember reading, I haven't read them all, I've still got like 2 more books to read, but from what I remember, especially from the games too, she meets a guy who she wants to have sex with, and he's like dying, and she's like pissed off that he can't keep it up because he's dying. I'm pretty certain that was in one of the books. Can't remember which one, but I'm pretty certain it was in one of the books I've read. I remember reading at least a scene like that. So there is stuff like that I wonder if they'll actually put into the show, because if this is anything goes for Netflix, it's really strong stuff. Like in the books, it really comes together pretty well. And if you can incorporate that on the level for TV, you've got a good thing. Like if this Witcher Netflix TV show is so good and is at the full potential that it can reach, it'd be on par, if not better than Game of Thrones. Absolutely. So I hope they do it well. There is that Polish one, which isn't too bad, but I just really hope, and I cannot wait, and I'm kind of annoyed that I'm going to have to wait till like next year to see it. But I'm really excited for it, and I'm just, it's exciting for a Witcher fan. Everybody's been wanting another better version of the Witcher universe after the game. But honestly, it makes sense to do it now because how great how great TV is, how far you can go. Game of Thrones showing that with how powerful and epic you can make it, and there's some epic shit in this. And I just want to see the Wild Hunt just be awesome. There's so much good stuff. So yeah, Aussie Viking out. Those are my thoughts. I cannot wait for this. I just hope they're just like, here's the casting, go for it, like Trish, Siri, and all that. Oh, so good. And yeah, Aussie Viking out. See you on Valhalla. Bye.